Hello, I'm Barney Krucoff. I'm Chief Data Officer from the District of Columbia, and I'm going to talk about data policy, and it's already going. DC is an early adopter of open data, but it was more of a practice than a policy. A lot of cities had come along behind us and actually had formal open data policies, and my first job upon being hired last June, not this one, but the one before, was come up with the policy. We quickly decided, along the theme of what Stephen Goldsmith was talking this morning, we needed to go beyond open data. We needed to cover all data. So we have a data policy. We don't have an open data policy, and I'm going to talk about why we did that. This is just some basic metadata on the policy so you can find it later. It's a mayor's order, not a law. It was signed in April, and there's a URL for you. I don't control the time. What I'm going to talk about next is open data and public data are really two sides of the same coin. If you're going to do what we want to do under this policy, like inventory it, why would you have a policy for one and a policy for another? And couldn't you come up with utopian policies on both sides? So we try to come down the middle in ours, and we try to make it efficient, and that's why we think you should take a look at it. The policy has really got a few different goals. One is to recognize that data is an asset of the city. Like in DC and everywhere I've worked, this podium would have a number on it. It's an asset of the city. Our huge data set would not have been inventoried, not be an asset. We also want to recognize specifically that it is an asset separate from the system in which it resides. Typically in IT, we value the system and we think of the data as part of the system, but really the data has a life of its own. So our policy recognizes that. The next principle of the policy is that the data is most valuable as an asset when it's shared to the extent that you can. And the third is that there are limits on sharing for safety and privacy. And what we're going to do under the policy is inventory all of our enterprise data sets. I'll define that later. We're going to classify them from 0 open to 4, like it's location of our undercover cop and someone could die. 3 has a lot of things in it, HIPAA, FERPA, things that separate us by sector. They're all going to be 3, so hopefully that'll help us unify us, and we're going to publish that open data inventory as open data, which is a big feedback mechanism talked about earlier on getting participation. This slide is just some dates on how that's going to go, but publishing the inventory we feel will be part of what the question NYU asked. How do we get agencies on board? The whole civic network will be able to see what we've inventoried, what parts of it are classified, and what are not, are open. The most controversial part of creating the policy was the definitions. I haven't included them all, but the fact that we defined data as non-narrative was very controversial because people want documents, they want other things. Our position was that's better under the public records law, FOIA in DC, but we did compromise and said that if we have a document management system or a set of images, that the index is our data, and that makes it a good fit. We further limited it to enterprise data sets, which are named systems with multiple users, trying to limit this inventory to what's important and not everything. Other highlights are we created a governance process through this policy, which we call the Interagency Data Team. We set minimum data protection standards. There's a role for the CDO, me, but also a CISO in data security. We have a lot of going on between FOIA and open data, including publishing our FOIA requests, and that's the way you appeal what's open or not, is by making a FOIA request.